Informatives, English translation, introductory words.
At the beginning of the Aquarian Age, more and more human beings are asking themselves what the meaning of life is. There are an infinite number of explanations for this, from both appointed and unappointed sources. This creates a variety of material that is presented to the human beings. This makes the search for the correct one considerably more difficult, if not impossible. Basically, they are mostly empty phrases or distorted interpretations of traditional teachings that do not satisfy the human beings who are really searching for the truth and lead other human beings astray. Again and again, those allegedly chosen ones appear by their own grace, who want to be guided by spirit guides, God appointees, channelers, and other extrasensory gifted, etc., who charm, lie to, and exploit the human beings of the world en masse, unconsciously or consciously, and in doing so not infrequently run a dirty business with fear. Well, what is the truth of all that is said, claimed, and written? Everyone must and should ask themselves this question. If the human being therefore does not want to fall prey to any belief, then there is nothing left for him but to find the answer himself, by creating evidence within himself through his own insights, which give him a directional answer to the question of the meaning and truth of life. A process that is unique in every form and can also become perfection in its entirety in this way. For how can a demonstration be greater and more powerful than when the human being is able to create it in himself through his knowledge and his reason and through his own intellect? How can a demonstration be more powerful, greater and more enduring than when it is created in human beings themselves through absolute logic? Only there, and only there, is an open and clear demonstration possible, which is not anchored in humility and submissiveness, and which therefore also does not testify to conscious enslavement, as is the case with faith, which demands an insertion into illogical and prescribed illusory proofs. Faith is based on thoughtlessness and laziness of thought. Knowledge, on the other hand, requires hard, conscious thinking and work, or a non-stop research and comparison of the results that appear in truthful or apparent form, until, in the course of time, a knowledge emerges from it that provides the human being with peace and security. 1. The earthly human being has entered a stage of witnessing a tremendous cosmic upheaval. A new age which is becoming ever clearer and clearer before the seeing eyes of thinking human beings. 2. Nevertheless, the bulk of this humanity lies in the abyss of ignorance and consciousness enslavement, so it has become necessary to get to the bottom of the causes of its descent and to present this to it in a message. 3. Similarly, however, it is also necessary to point out new ways that lead into a spiritually understanding and consciousness and spiritually harmonizing future. Let the earth humans therefore open their eyes and ears. Let them tear their enslaved thoughts from all false doctrines, untruths, and from all evil. Let them open their senses of consciousness to the recognition of truth. Let him look up into the infinity of space, where in the timeless the stars reign in majestic peace and majesty. 6. In creative order, they run their course through millennia and millions of years, in harmony with the universal laws of creation and in fulfillment of the commandments to be obeyed. On all these stars, creative laws and commandments are in force, eternal rule, and becoming and timeless being, and passing away and endless coming into being. 8. And let the human being look down upon his earth, for there too the same laws and commandments of creation are carried out in eternal order. 9. The human being, the earth, and all its manifold life forms are included in these laws and commandments as a tiny but important link in the chain of creative creation.
What does creation mean, and what does God mean?
Creation means creation spirit energy, universal consciousness. Terms that mean one and the same thing. Creation is the most immense mass of pure spirit energy that can exist in our universe. It is the most elemental and greatest force in the entire universe, inconceivable in knowledge, wisdom, truth, love, logic, justice, and so on. Creation is the originator of all creations. That is to say, it created all worlds with all their trimmings, and is thus the being and the non-being of life. In the linguistic usage of the spiritual doctrine, one does not speak of a God, if one wants to express the omnipotence of creation with it. God means as much as wisdom king, and is the German translation for the ancient Lyrian term Chwish. It is a name for human beings who possess extraordinary knowledge and skill and wisdom, and who, on the basis of their power of consciousness, are able to control and accomplish things that are denied even to popular leaders and other rulers, as well as kings and emperors. That is why knowing, able, wise men are called wisdom kings. Human beings who are spiritually and consciously above emperors and kings. God was and is also today a title for extraterrestrial human beings who possess such qualities. Even Emmanuel, aka Jesus Christ, already said,
God is a human being like any other human being. But above God is the creation, immeasurably higher than he, for the creation alone is the immeasurable mystery.
So God is not identical with creation, and thus has no influence on the spiritual life erroneously called soul life of the human being. These words, however, are not to be found in any holy scripture, for they have quite simply been falsified and rendered in a lying manner by the writers of the books. For the truth would inevitably destroy any image of the church and its God. But the same is true for other religions, so not only for Christianity.
The meaning of life.
Although creation is the most perfect thing known or believed to be known by human beings, it must nevertheless continue to perfect and develop itself inexorably. To achieve this goal, however, the assistance of all human beings is necessary, as absurd as this may sound. That is why the energy of the spirit of creation constantly creates new, young spirit forms which, as immortal spirit forms erroneously called the so-called immortal soul, animate every human body and make it capable of existence. For without them, not a single human being would be able to exist. Irrespective of all differences, all human beings in the entire universe possess this common feature, namely the immaterial spirit, which is a tiny fragment of the spirit of creation. The meaning of human existence, according to the creation, is anchored in spiritual evolution without exception. Every spirit form must work its way up through innumerable reincarnations, from the initially completely ignorant new spirit to spiritual relative perfection, in order to finally return to the origin. This in order to become one with creation, whereby creation itself continues to develop and becomes ever more powerful and relatively perfect. Ergo, we human beings are not spared the trouble of treading a lengthy path of consciousness, evolution paved with numerous obstacles. On the one hand, something that already exists, which may still be slumbering in secret, must be awakened and developed anew. And on the other hand, it is also a matter of working out what is not yet there and bringing it to fruition. However, since each human being embodies an individual, each also has an individual stage of development, and no rung of the evolutionary ladder can be skipped. It goes without saying that the final goal of spiritual evolution can never be achieved in one or more material lives. Rather, countless rebirths are necessary for this.
What is meant by reincarnation?
When a human being dies, his gross material body disintegrates into its basic building blocks, which is in fact equivalent to a disintegration of material existence. In contrast, the pure spiritual part of the human being remains fully intact. This means that after death, the human spirit form leaves its hitherto inhabited body in a flash and immediately goes into the next higher spiritual realm, into the beyond. This beyond is not located somewhere in unknown regions of the universe, but surrounds the respective inhabited celestial body, such as the earth, as a fine material belt, or, even better, as a fine material spherical shell. In the hereafter, all important knowledge and experiences, etc., which have been collected and stored in the course of a life, are so thoroughly evaluated and processed that they are never lost again as spiritual property. When this processing is then completed after a certain period of time, the spirit form can leave the hereafter again to move into a new, gross material body, which now serves as a dwelling for another, material life. A quotation from Billy Piece by Piece, during innumerable lives, mosaic tessera after mosaic tessera of knowledge, logic, experience, love, knowledge, truth, wisdom, etc., are gathered together. Little by little, dust is accumulated into that wealth which ultimately marks the perfection of the spirit. After unspeakable toil, privation, suffering and hardship, joys and love in an infinite number of lives.
Every human being is responsible for their own destiny. Creation has made provisions so that all the necessary conditions are in place, so that a human being can follow his individual path in life.
How he manages this, however, is left up to him. The necessary guidelines in the form of the creative laws and commandments are anchored in the energy of the spirit of creation. But whether a human being adheres to these guidelines and how he shapes his life is his very own business. Creation gives him a free hand in every respect and does not interfere in any way with the concerns of individual human beings, whatever they may be. The universal consciousness, the creation, never takes patronage or responsibility for the shaping of a human being's life. It cannot therefore be emphasized strongly enough that the fate of a human being is determined neither by imaginary and therefore non-existent spirit guides and guardian angels, or by supposedly supernatural forces, etc., nor by an equally imaginary higher power or providence. Rather, every human being is responsible for his or her own destiny, and thus the well-known proverb proves true. Every man is the architect of his own fortune. Blessed is he who realizes this and acts accordingly.
Heaven and Hell.
Excerpt from Life and Death. By Billy Human Beings of the Earth, it has never been possible for you, and never will be possible for you, to go anywhere to a heaven or anywhere to a hell. As human beings, you prepare heaven and hell for yourself. And if you want to get to heaven, you have to prepare it for yourself. But the seed of heaven lies in the seed of the teaching of the Spirit, in truth, love, knowledge, balance, and wisdom, all of which are founded in logic. For you, human being, it is only of importance that you, and how you, take things into yourself and act with and upon them. For it is you in all things who lay the seed to heaven within yourself, and out of yourself will grow thee and your heaven. It is truly in the interest of the individual human being to strive for and attain an expansion and deepening of consciousness, and to revise his previous conception of life. The earthly human striving of the great mass of humanity is, without exception, to get hold of often immeasurable material riches as quickly and effortlessly as possible and to gain power over others. The status of material wealth and the social and professional position in the world determine the value of a human being, whereby his spiritual values, which are in fact the only values, are completely disregarded, ridiculed, trampled upon, and called lowly intelligent. In the present time, the prestige of human beings is assessed only according to their financial worth and according to their rank and title. Certainly, in the eyes of the so-called normal or average person, a thinker is considered a do-gooder, unworldly, or out of touch with reality. But is it not rather the case that thinkers are real human beings, or try to be, because they think about life and the state of consciousness of human beings, from which it follows that their insights reach so far and seem so incomprehensible that they can neither be grasped nor understood by the average human being? Consequently, the speech of a thinker is incomprehensible to many, especially when he speaks of spiritual forces and spiritual doctrine, which are capable of shaping every single human being without exception, and truly do so. The fact of the lack of understanding in human beings is then also what makes the unintelligent doubt and labels the knowledgeable as fantasists, know-it-alls, and cranks, etc.
Overpopulation.
Excerpt from the pamphlet Stop the Madness of Torture and Capital Punishment by Billy. All the roaring evils of earthly humanity find their origin and existence in the fact of overpopulation and its unstoppable further irresponsible increase. So, the evil can only be combated and remedied by seizing it at the roots, uprooting it, and destroying it. Earthly humanity must be drastically reduced. The only humane basis for a reduction of humanity, however, can only be achieved by a birth control which only allows descendants at a certain age of the spouses and also only a strictly determined number of descendants. This against all excuses, contradictions, fears, and nonsense comments of those imbeciles who claim for military, religious, or false reasons of humanity and love of neighbor that descendants in large numbers are necessary, or that birth control is anti-religious or inhuman, etc. Such imbecility can only be put forward by boundless egoists, sectarians and others incapable of life, who have not the slightest inkling of natural laws and commandments, let alone of truthful logic. Truth has always sounded hard, and so has the true truth about love, charity, and humanity. For all in one, they demand logical thinking and action from human beings. So also in the sense of remedying the problems of earthly humanity, which says that only a reduction through harsh birth control can remedy all existing great evils, and that no inhumane aid may be given to those who are naturally doomed to die, such as those who are conceived through madness and unreason, and become starving people in the world in which they are to die of death, because the laws of nature demand it. Is that supposed to be barbaric, inhumane, and unloving? Quite the contrary. If you yourself once think logically about these facts, if you have not already done so and found the same truth from them, you will also find the truth in logical form, which corresponds to the aforementioned. Only the human being as a thinking being acts contrary to this natural law and tramples it underfoot.
Concluding words.
It is necessary in life to pay the right attention and mindfulness to all things, be they factual, natural, or human, in order to see and recognize things as they really are. The right attentiveness and attention, the reflection on what is heard, seen, experienced, felt, and sensed, etc., will teach the human being to reduce assumptions and beliefs in order to look truth in the eye, to acknowledge it, and to live according to it. In this way, the human being creates for himself a psychic balance, the basis for a harmonious, peaceful, and happy life. If the human beings of Earth have progressed so far in their realization that they have the courage to accept the truth, then they will also understand that everything in the entire universe is interconnected and ordered by the same laws and commandments. This interconnectedness is anchored in creative love, for love is nothing less than
love is absolute certainty of living and coexisting in everything. So in everything that exists, in fauna and flora, in fellow human beings, in every material and spiritual life form of whatever kind, and in the existence of the whole universe and beyond.
Law of Love by Billy.
Christian Moosbrugger, Austria.